Imagine a world where the most anticipated event in human history unfolded not with trumpets and celestial fire, but in the gritty, blood-soaked streets of revolutionary France. What if the Messiah returned, not as a conquering king, but as a humble figure, blending seamlessly into the chaos of 1794, utterly unrecognized by the very people who awaited him? The reign of terror gripped France, a nation tearing itself apart in the name of reason and liberty. Churches were desecrated, old orders overthrown, and the very concept of God was under assault. Could this tumultuous backdrop have been the perfect camouflage for a quiet, unheralded return, a test of humanity's true spiritual sight amidst its darkest hour? Consider the prophecies, a second coming, often depicted with immense power and global recognition. But what if that was merely one interpretation, a grand narrative designed to distract from a more subtle, profound possibility? Jesus' first arrival was similarly unassuming, missed by many who expected a different kind of savior. Why would his return be any less enigmatic? Perhaps he walked among the sans-culottes, a voice of quiet compassion amidst the guillotine's relentless thud. Did he offer solace to the condemned, or speak words of peace to the revolutionaries consumed by zeal? How could anyone distinguish a divine presence when the very fabric of society was unraveling, when every stranger was a potential enemy or a fleeting ally? And what of the hidden hands, the secret societies that always seem to pull the strings of history? The Illuminati, the Freemasons, deeply entrenched in the intellectual and political currents of the era. Were they aware of a presence, a force that threatened their carefully constructed New World Order? Did they actively work to suppress any whispers, any unusual occurrences that might betray a divine intervention? Could the radical ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, twisted and perverted by the revolution, have been a distorted echo of his true message, a message he sought to reintroduce into a world that had forgotten its essence? Was he trying to guide humanity back to its path, only to be drowned out by the roar of the mob and the clang of the blade? The very nature of recognition is at stake. Would we expect miracles, or would we look for a profound shift in consciousness, a quiet wisdom that transcends the turmoil? In a time when reason was deified and faith was scorned, who would have had the spiritual sensitivity to perceive the divine in human form, especially if that form was deliberately unassuming? What if his purpose was not to be publicly acclaimed, but to plant seeds of truth, to subtly influence the course of events, to offer a hidden path forward for those few who could see beyond the surface? A silent witness to humanity's folly, a beacon of hope for the few who might still seek the light in the deepest shadows. This hidden return did occur. It would rewrite our understanding of history, of prophecy, and of our own spiritual journey. It would mean that a pivotal moment passed us by, leaving us to grapple with the consequences of a world that unknowingly rejected its own salvation. Could the greatest truth be the one we never saw, hidden in plain sight amidst the most violent upheaval, leaving us forever to ponder what profound opportunity we tragically missed? This missed encounter, if it truly happened, wouldn't just be a historical footnote, it would be the very bedrock upon which our modern world was unknowingly built. Every subsequent revolution, every shift in power, every societal paradigm might have been subtly altered by the absence of that crucial recognition, leaving humanity adrift without its intended spiritual compass. Imagine the trajectory of the 19th and 20th centuries, the rise of ideologies, the global conflicts, the increasing secularization. Were these not symptoms of a deeper spiritual void, a path taken because the guiding light, though present, was ignored? Did the world, in its blindness, choose a different destiny, one fraught with the very struggles it sought to overcome? And what of those who do claim to see beyond the veil? The highest echelons of the secret societies, the inner circles of power that always seem to be one step ahead. Is it possible that they were the ones who recognized the returned Messiah, not to worship, but to neutralize, to co-opt, or even to manipulate his message for their own ends, ensuring humanity remained in spiritual darkness? Could the very symbols and rituals of these clandestine groups, often steeped in ancient wisdom and esoteric knowledge, contain veiled references to this unrecognized return? A secret history known only to the initiated? Perhaps their true power lies not just in political influence, but in their hidden understanding of spiritual events that the masses are deliberately kept from perceiving. Consider the persistent whispers of ancient astronauts, of advanced civilizations guiding humanity from the shadows. If a divine figure walked among us, unrecognized, could this also be part of a larger, cosmic experiment, observed by non-human intelligences who understand the true stakes of humanity's spiritual evolution? Were there other witnesses, not of this earth, observing our tragic oversight? This narrative challenges the very foundation of prophecy. What if the end times are not a singular cataclysmic event, but a series of tests, a continuous unfolding where humanity is repeatedly given chances to awaken, only to consistently fail to recognize the divine in its most unexpected forms. Is our current reality merely a consequence of these repeated failures? The echoes of his presence, though unacknowledged, might still resonate through time. Could certain artistic movements, philosophical shifts, or even scientific breakthroughs have been subtly inspired by the lingering energy of his brief hidden sojourn in France? A quiet ripple in the fabric of reality, felt but never traced to its true source. What became of this enigmatic figure after 1794? Did he simply fade back into the shadows, his mission unfulfilled in the eyes of man, yet perhaps accomplished in a way we cannot comprehend? Or did he continue his work in deeper secrecy, influencing events from behind the scenes, a perpetual unseen hand guiding humanity through its self-inflicted trials? If this hidden return is indeed a truth, then our understanding of history, of religion, and of our own spiritual potential is fundamentally flawed, built upon a foundation of collective spiritual amnesia. It would mean that the very fabric of our perceived reality is a carefully constructed illusion, obscuring a profound truth that continues to elude us, even to this day. Consider the implications for our modern world. Are we still unknowingly operating under the shadow of this missed opportunity, repeating patterns of conflict and division, because we failed to recognize the ultimate path to unity? Has humanity been wandering in a spiritual wilderness, believing itself enlightened, while the true light passed by unnoticed centuries ago? And what if the most powerful secret societies, those who claim ancient lineage and esoteric knowledge, possess records or oral traditions of this very event? Did they perhaps recognize him not to worship, but to ensure his message remained contained, preventing a spiritual awakening that would dismantle their carefully maintained power structures? Could the relentless push toward secularism, the systematic dismantling of traditional faith, and the promotion of materialistic ideologies, all be part of a long-term strategy, initiated by those who understood the threat of a truly enlightened populace? Was the French Revolution itself, in part, a controlled experiment to test humanity's susceptibility to spiritual blindness? Perhaps even the ancient alien narratives, the whispers of extraterrestrial oversight, gain a new dimension. If advanced beings have indeed been observing humanity, would they not have been present during such a pivotal yet unacknowledged return? Did they witness our collective failure, confirming their assessment of our species' spiritual immaturity? Was this a test for humanity on a cosmic scale, a trial designed by intelligences far beyond our comprehension? And if so, what were the results of that test? Did our inability to recognize the divine in its most humble form seal a certain fate for our species, a fate that continues to unfold in the present? Are we living in the aftermath of a cosmic decision, a consequence of a moment when the path to true spiritual evolution was offered and ignored? Do the global crises, the existential anxieties, and the pervasive sense of meaninglessness that plague modern society stem from this very historical blind spot? This narrative forces us to question our own capacity for spiritual discernment. If the divine can manifest in such an unassuming way, how many other profound truths do we miss in our daily lives, blinded by expectation, dogma, or the sheer noise of the world? Are we constantly overlooking the miraculous, waiting for a spectacle that may never come? The lesson of 1794 France, if this hidden return is true, is not just about a past event, but about a perpetual challenge. Are we even now being tested in ways we cannot perceive, with opportunities for spiritual growth disguised as ordinary moments, waiting for eyes that truly see? Could the greatest deception be the one we perpetrate upon ourselves, by refusing to believe that the most profound truths might be hidden, not in the heavens, but in the quiet whispers of history, waiting for us to finally awaken? If this hidden truth holds, then our modern quest for meaning, our frantic search for answers in a fragmented world, might be nothing more than a desperate echo of that original profound oversight. Are we, as a species, still living with the spiritual hangover of a moment when salvation walked among us, unnoticed and unheeded? And what if the very structures of power, the global elites and their shadowy organizations, are built upon the deliberate suppression of such spiritual awareness? Did they learn from 1794 that humanity is easily distracted by material pursuits and political theater, making it simpler to maintain control by keeping us spiritually blind? Consider the ancient alien hypothesis once more. If advanced intelligences have indeed been observing our planet for millennia, what would their assessment be of a species that repeatedly fails its most crucial spiritual examinations? Is our current isolation in the cosmos a direct consequence of our inability to perceive the divine, even when it manifests in the most accessible forms? Perhaps the second coming is not a singular future event, but a recurring pattern, a series of opportunities for humanity to finally awaken. Could 1794 have been just one instance in a long line of unacknowledged divine interventions, each missed opportunity deepening our collective spiritual slumber. This hidden history could explain the pervasive sense of existential dread, the feeling that something fundamental is missing from our collective experience. Are we unconsciously yearning for a connection that was offered and rejected, leaving a void that no amount of technological progress or material wealth can ever fill? What if the true nature of divine presence is not about grand spectacle, but about the profound, quiet resonance that challenges our preconceived notions of power and glory? Are we so conditioned to expect the dramatic that we consistently overlook the subtle, the gentle, the truly revolutionary? Could the whispers of a coming great awakening or a new earth be a subconscious yearning for a recognition that was denied centuries ago? Is humanity, on some deep level, still trying to correct a historical error, to finally open its eyes to what it once tragically ignored? The very idea of a hidden return forces us to re-evaluate our spiritual frameworks. If God can walk among us without fanfare, without demanding worship, then what does that say about our rigid dogmas and our insistence on specific rituals? Is true faith about perception, not prescription? This narrative suggests a profound individual responsibility. If the divine manifests subtly, then the burden of recognition falls not on a global announcement, but on the personal capacity for discernment, for seeing beyond the veil of the mundane. Are we cultivating the inner vision necessary to perceive the sacred in the ordinary? So, as we navigate a world increasingly fraught with uncertainty and division, we must ask ourselves, what profound truths are we missing right now, disguised as everyday events, waiting for us to finally see with eyes unclouded by expectation, dogma, or the noise of a world still reeling from a revelation it never recognized? What if the very noise and distraction of our hyper-connected age are not accidental, but deliberately engineered? A constant barrage of information, entertainment, and manufactured crises designed to keep our collective gaze fixed on the superficial, preventing any deeper introspection that might lead us to question the foundational narratives of our reality. Could the architects of this grand distraction be the very same shadowy organizations, the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, the highest echelons of the Freemasons, who, through generations, have maintained the secret of 1794, ensuring that humanity remains perpetually disoriented, never quite grasping the true spiritual power available to it? And what of the ancient astronauts, those alleged overseers from distant stars? Did they too witness this profound spiritual oversight in 1794, perhaps shaking their heads at humanity's persistent inability to recognize the divine, even when it walked among them in the guise of an ordinary man? Was this a data point in a cosmic assessment of our species? This hidden history paints a picture not of a benevolent guiding hand, but of a universe that presents profound spiritual challenges, tests that humanity consistently fails to pass. Are we, in our current state, merely reiterating a pattern of spiritual blindness, repeating the same mistakes on an ever-grandening scale, oblivious to the true lessons? If the divine can manifest so humbly, then our entire concept of power, of authority, of what constitutes a savior, is fundamentally skewed. Are we perpetually waiting for a thunderous spectacle, a celestial intervention, while the true path to enlightenment lies in the quiet recognition of the sacred in the seemingly profane? The lingering energetic imprint of that unacknowledged presence in 1794 France might still be subtly influencing our world. Could the inexplicable surges of creativity, the sudden shifts in collective consciousness, or even the persistent longing for a deeper truth, be echoes of that missed connection, a spiritual residue waiting to be reawakened? Who truly holds the keys to spiritual knowledge? Is it the established religious institutions with their dogmas and hierarchies, or is it the inner sanctums of secret societies, who guard ancient wisdom and perhaps the true narrative of divine interventions, using it to maintain their grip on a spiritually impoverished world? Consider the modern push for a great reset, a reshaping of global society. Is this merely an economic and political agenda, or does it have a deeper spiritual dimension, perhaps a final attempt by those in power to cement humanity's spiritual amnesia, ensuring that any future divine manifestations are just as effectively ignored? The ancient alien hypothesis suggests a cosmic game, a grand experiment. Was 1794 a critical moment in that experiment, a test of humanity's readiness for true spiritual evolution, observed by intelligences who understood the profound implications of our collective failure to recognize the returned Messiah? So, as we stand at the precipice of an uncertain future, bombarded by conflicting narratives and a pervasive sense of unease, we must ask, are we merely living out the consequences of a spiritual blindness that began centuries ago, still waiting for a revelation that has already come and gone, unnoticed, unheeded, and fundamentally altering the course of our collective destiny?